Hey, what's happening everybody? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and as you can clearly see, I appear to be wearing a Legend of Zelda t-shirt, which must mean that today we're going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda. Most specifically, we are going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which is coming to the Switch very soon and has everybody talking. And it also has most people talking about it really upset. We've obviously discussed this a few times here on the channel too since this game was announced, and honestly this game has had pretty much controversy from day one. When it was first shown off in the February Direct earlier this year, the first Nintendo Direct we had in over a year, and at the very end they closed with a little bit of a Zelda presentation from IG Aonuma where they confirmed Skyward Sword HD finally coming to the Switch after much debate over several years, something I'm extremely excited about. In fact, this game releases on my birthday this year on July 16th, which is so crazy cool. But from the moment this game was announced, people were upset over the fact that this was a full-priced $60 port of a game 2 generations old, and the only thing they appear to have done to it was make the graphics HD, no additional graphical improvements, just an HD polish, a change to some control functions to regular button controls, and that was it. No hints at any new content or improvements to the gameplay or the structure to the game, additional content, new dungeons, all these things that everyone wanted. They weren't doing that. It was just an HD polished port for a full price, and people were upset. Now, this newest thing that happened has to do with the announcement of a Zelda Amiibo, which I think looks super cool, but now has everyone upset over the fact that it seems like a $25 microtransaction. Now, before we dive any deeper into this Skyward Sword topic, I always like to remind you guys that I am always trying to grow the channel here on Rule of Two Review. I am hoping to cross 17,000 subscribers before the end of 2021. I upload several videos every single week. I try to live stream around once a week or so. I talk about all things Nintendo, I cover a lot of Metroid, and I talk about all things gaming. So as you watch this video, if you seem to like what I'm doing and what you hear, then hopefully you will consider subscribing to the channel. So, Skyward Sword HD, man, this game just cannot get itself away from controversy. And it definitely makes me sad because, I mean, you guys have heard me say this. I'm a huge fan of this game. I loved it ever since it launched on the Wii back in 2011. I was there at the midnight release at my local GameStop, and I waited in line, and I picked it up. I even still use the same golden Wiimote that I got in the bundle with that game for the Wii, and I love this game. I mean, it was controversial back when it released 10 years ago, and I defended it then, and now here we are in 2021, it's controversial again, and I still kind of want to defend it. But I should clarify, when I say that I want to defend it today, it's more the game itself I still want to defend. Some of the complaints lodged against it, I actually do understand. Both the full-priced port without a lot of new additional features, and what's going on with this Amiibo, which, to be fair, that's really one of the big focuses here of this video, is the announcement of this Amiibo, where earlier this week, Nintendo showed a new Amiibo, which is the Skyward Sword version of Zelda, my personal favorite iteration of Zelda that has ever existed. She is the best, in my opinion, and also her Loftwing. This is the Amiibo, and what happened that got people upset was when Nintendo showed what this Amiibo actually does. The long and the short of it is that scanning this Amiibo into your Switch while playing Skyward Sword will basically create a fast travel system within the game. It allows you to warp from Hyrule below to the sky above and back and forth again. In a lot of ways, it's actually a cool feature. I think one of the coolest things that we've all noticed about the feature, if you just separate yourself from the Amiibo thing for a minute, is the fact that instead of having to go to these specific Skyloft statues that are planted only in certain spots throughout the maps, there's really not all that many of them. Instead of having to go to one of those to shoot yourself up to the sky and down below and whatnot, you scan the Amiibo, and wherever Link is, whether he's somewhere in a map or even in a dungeon, and it shoots him right up to Skyloft, and once you scan it again, it shoots you right back to the same spot that you left below. It is an awesome feature, an awesome addition. It's the perfect example of a quality of life improvement that a lot of people wanted this game to have when it was first announced. However, it is now locked behind an Amiibo, and it's not just any regular $13 Amiibo. This is a $25 US Amiibo. This has people up in arms, and while I'm not losing any sleep over it, I have to agree that it seems a little bit problematic. The big complaint that people say about this, and it's something I said at the beginning of the video here too, is that it feels a little bit like a microtransaction, right? Which, in many ways, you could argue that that's what Amiibos have been ever since they were first introduced, like what, maybe 7 years ago? I want to say 2014, I think, when Amiibos first launched. So they've been around for a while, back during the Wii U years, and they've always been something meant to scan for some kind of additional gameplay feature or an aesthetic enhancement, something like that, you know, that you buy for $13, and you're doing two things when you buy an Amiibo. One is you're collecting this cool little Nintendo statue thing for a physical collection of figures and statues, and two, you're getting some sort of gameplay feature if you decide to scan it for that purpose. Now, I think I speak for most of us when I say the Amiibos that many of us have in our homes and in our collection, we're not scanning those into our games very often. I don't think even since the Wii U days many of us have been doing that, but that has been their intended purpose since they were created. Here's your physical collection, and here's a couple of small gameplay enhancements you get if you decide to scan them. So is it fair to call an Amiibo a microtransaction in a world today where microtransactions are so common and something that many of us don't like? I mean, yeah, it's not a crazy comparison. I don't think it's exactly a one-to-one comparison, but there are enough similarities there that if somebody wants to lodge that complaint against them or this new Zelda Amiibo, I mean, I get it, man. I can't help it. I totally understand. It's like, here is something you can't do in this video game, whatever it is, unless you spend $13 to $25 for this special Amiibo figure. Maybe you don't care about building up your collection of Amiibo statues, but you do want this gameplay enhancement. Well, instead of having it as a part of the game or something you can just unlock through gameplay, you have to spend real-life money and you get this physical thing, and now you can do the activity you want to do. I mean, through most definitions of the word, that is a little bit of a microtransaction. Now, the way this relates to Skyward Sword specifically is a very tricky Pandora's box to open. I think there's a lot of different things going on here. And I think that this issue, or this feature of this Amiibo, I should say, is being highlighted by the fact that Skyward Sword in and of itself is a game that kind of demands some quality of life updates, and that people have been asking to have quality of life updates. And so when they finally announced this Amiibo and the feature it performs, this feels, just with this one game specifically, like the kind of thing that should have been part of the enhancement. If you're going to charge people full price for this game, this is the kind of enhancement that's probably worth throwing in there for free, or part of the $60 retail price, not locked behind an additional purchase that also happens to be twice as much as that additional purchase would otherwise be. If this is for a game like Twilight Princess, for example, where I think most people would agree not as many quality of life improvements might be needed, I don't know if anyone would be batting an eye, and instead of seeing it as a negative, a thing being taken away from the game and held behind a paywall, people would have just seen it as a net gain. The game is already good, doesn't need many quality of life changes. Oh, but here's this additional little warp fast travel thing that comes with the Amiibo feature. That's cool. I already want this Amiibo figure, so now I just get this benefit of this thing if I decide to use it. And again, with Skyward Sword, even though I love this game, this feels like something people already wanted in the game for the $60 it costs, and so it does feel like it's being stripped from the game and held behind the Amiibo paywall. I hope that this kind of makes sense the way I explain it, but I feel like most of you guys can follow along. And so it's a tricky situation. My perspective also makes it tricky because I happen to be somebody who has loved this game from the get-go. Going into the HD release, I already know the structure of the game, I understand the statues that shoot you to and from the sky in Hyrule, and I haven't been thinking about or demanding this specific quality of life improvement. I didn't need this additional fast travel feature to be excited for this game, or to buy this game, or to play this game. Again, I didn't need it, I haven't been asking for it. So it's like when I see this Amiibo functionality, I'm like, oh, that's a cool feature. This fast travel system is neat. Oh, it's part of the Amiibo. Well, that's dumb, but okay, because even if this never existed, this Amiibo or this feature, I still was excited for the game and going to play it knowing what I was going in for. This just seems like a net gain. And also, I'm somebody who, when I first saw the Amiibo, tell me if any of you guys feel this way anymore when it comes to Amiibo. When I saw the Amiibo announced, I'm not even thinking about the gameplay feature. Like, the first thing I think of is, oh, cool, a statue of a Nintendo character I like. So when I saw this first revealed, I was like, oh my god, my favorite Zelda has an Amiibo with a Loftwing. That's awesome. I want it because I want it for my collection. I wasn't thinking about what gameplay enhancement is it going to add to the game. I almost forget that Amiibo have this functionality because it's been so long, and the few Amiibo I have, I bought only because I wanted them as figures, not because I wanted them as gameplay enhancements. So my mind didn't even go to the gameplay enhancement until several hours later when I saw the trailer and I saw the enhancement and I saw people's complaints, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Amiibos have gameplay features. Oh, I think I understand why people are upset. This one is getting a little messy. Like I said, it's a very complex, kind of tricky situation to navigate, you know, at least if you have my perspective. If you're somebody who sees this and is outright just completely mad, pissed off 100%, I guess it's not messy for you. You just know how you feel, and so that's fine. And maybe you're somebody who completely forgives this, and I don't really think that's the right way to go about it. But if you do, then it's not messy for you either. For me, when I factor in all the stuff I've talked to you guys about, I'm like, I don't know, man. I guess, like I said, it's a controversy I understand, but I'm not losing sleep over, right? You guys who follow me know that with a lot of controversies, I will tend to feel that way. This isn't making me mad, and it's not changing my decision to buy the game. However, what it has done is made me decide probably to not buy the Amiibo, even though I wanted it because I love this version of Zelda so much. Like I said, my favorite version of the Zelda character that's ever existed. But, I mean, it's not... I really have to say that, even though I'm fine buying this game full price, I do think that Nintendo maybe isn't living up to their typical quality standard, and their typical content standard. Normally, if they're going to port or remake or remaster an old game, you know, they would do maybe more to the visual aesthetic, or they would add more gameplay or features as part of the price. And to charge not even $13 but $25 for an Amiibo to get something that I agree really should have been part of the quality of life enhancement is a problem. I think they either never should have done this quality of life enhancement, or they should have just thrown it into the price of the game at $60, or sold the game at a discount for maybe $30 or even $40. But they've kind of chosen the most expensive, greediest path with this game, and it makes me sad because I love it so much. Obviously, this game is going to sell like crazy. That Amiibo is going to sell like crazy, so it's not going to hurt Nintendo's bottom line, and we have to acknowledge that. But I can still agree that even though I'm excited for the game itself, I'm no longer going to buy the Amiibo, and really, this probably wasn't the best choice for Nintendo to make overall. It is a little bit of a shame. So yeah, these are my thoughts and my opinions about what's going on. There's really no one right way to feel. Whether you agree with my opinions or you feel completely different or you're outright angry about it, I don't know, man. It all makes sense to me. It's not the best choice, so I totally understand people who are outright pissed about it. My approach is like, well, instead of buying the Amiibo that I was going to buy, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to give Nintendo money for that because I don't think it's the best choice. But I still love this game. I want it in HD on my Switch. I've defended it since day one. I've already supported it since day one 10 years ago. So I'm going to do the same again. And it comes out on my birthday. I mean, come on. I'm a fan of this game and it releases on my birthday. How could I not at least pick the game up? I love the game. I want to play it again. So these are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? No one is wrong with how they feel in this situation. I just want to hear you guys talk about it. So with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.